So we are incredibly lucky to be graced with the presence of these four amazing athletes today. If you're here earlier, you got to hear a little bit from Tracy and Oscar on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion panel that we had. And that was a really fun look, I think, into some of the evolution that's happening in skateboarding right now. But one of the biggest changes we've seen in forever in skateboarding was that skateboarding went to the Olympic Games for the first time in Tokyo last year. And that was, yes, that was 100% due to the work, hard work, blood, sweat, tears, and energy that these skaters put into their lives. They have been skateboarding. So here's a good place to start. When did you first start skateboarding, Bryce?
I first started skateboarding. I know there was a point when I was 2 years old. I did ballet classes and brought my board in, and I was like, oh yeah, like you can use a bunch of things when you're doing ballet. So when I was 2, I took my first foot and put it on my board. When I was 5, I started to try to drop in. When I was 6, my dad would spot me going over the little spine ramp. When I was 7, I did my first competition. That was a lot of information.
That is amazing, though, because I didn't start skateboarding until I was 13, and that was fairly common amongst the skaters of my generation. So it's amazing to see all these kids that are starting baby thrasher age, right? Like, it's unreal to see how comfortable these kids are on their skateboards as old as they are. So you're at the ripe old age of 18 now. When you first started skating, did you ever think about being in the Olympic Games? Did that cross your mind at any point when you entered your first competition?
When I entered my first contest, what I think crossed my mind was not what's next, but what's in the next 2 minutes, almost. Like, it was just always something. It almost felt like something was leading you. And I noticed a lot of times in skating, like, you're being led by your board, you're being led by everything around it, and you're not really leading anything or looking what's next. You're never like the bold leader. It's kind of like something tells you where to go. And I think I wasn't thinking about the Olympics probably until maybe 3 years ago. We heard it come up in the air, and it wasn't anything like spick and span. It wasn't like, the Olympics is here, this is what we're doing, and this is how we're doing it. It's like, you might go to the Olympics, it's over there. You might go one day. Like, would you want to? I'm like, well, sure. Like, that sounds pretty incredible. Like, obviously, you never thought about Olympics and skateboarding. It never went hand in hand until it did. And that was the most beautiful, obviously one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had. And I'm sure we can all say that.
That's awesome. I think, what's interesting is you're actually one of the last generation that's not going to have the idea of being able to go to the Olympics, right? It didn't exist when you first started skateboarding. But if you're skateboarding now, or you start skateboarding now, there is an ultimate sort of level of competition that you can participate in that kind of changes the way that people think about skateboarding, but maybe not as much as you might think. So I want to go to Jake Elardi next. Jake is one of the first 3 American men to compete in the Olympics in street skateboarding from Osprey, Florida. Jake?
Hello, everyone. Jake Elardi. I started skateboarding when I was 4 years old. With my twin brother Nate, and our grandmother got us skateboards for our 4th birthday, and we just started messing around on our hands and knees, pushing around the driveway, and then eventually started standing up, learning how to ollie, drop in, all that stuff. And then we had like Walmart boards at first, and then it was like Mickey Mouse and Winnie the Pooh. And then from there we went to our local skate shop when we turned 8 years old and got like actual completes and started going to the local skate park, and from there, it's kind of snowballed into what it is today, and I'm just super thankful for the journey and super blessed to be out here. Honestly, never thought skateboarding would be in the Olympics. I always remember watching like X Games, Dew Tour, Street League, all the different contests growing up, and then watched like Olympic snowboarding, all the different sports on TV, and like now that it's in the Olympics, like skateboarding's in the Olympics, it was an honor to go, and it was quite the journey getting there. I remember 2019, I got invited down to Brazil for the first ever qualifier. Made the team for the year, and then just started climbing my way up the ladder, and then ended up getting to go. COVID kind of delayed it a little bit in 2020. We were supposed to go, but we went in 2021. So I think that gave us all some extra time to practice and some extra time to mentally prepare ourselves. But Tokyo was great, and it was an amazing experience.
It's awesome. You know, one of the things that's been really fun, I'll give you some of my background. My name's Josh Friedberg. I'm a skateboarder. I grew up in Topeka, Kansas. Fell in love with skateboarding when I was 13. Dropped out of college when I was 19 to move to California to skate. I co-founded a project called 411 Video Magazine that became a kind of important piece of skateboarding history. But I've had the chance to watch skateboarding grow and change through all of these decades that I've been involved, and it's been really special. The last 7 years, I've been involved in helping put the structure in place to bring skateboarding to the Tokyo Games. One of the things we always emphasize, though, is the goal wasn't to get skateboarding into the games when we organized the necessary associations to deal with that. It was just to make sure that skateboarders had a voice at the table if and when skateboarding went to the Olympics, because we know what skateboarding is. Skateboarding is a culture-based sport. It's very different than something that you do to win, right? You all know, you watch these kids out here, they're not concerned with winning. They're just having fun. And that's kind of the secret sauce of skateboarding that's not that complicated. So in the midst of this, to get thrown into this Olympic machine and these sports that are all about winning, to watch these skaters continue to do what they do and still share that need for fun and freedom of expression has been one of the most fun and exciting parts of my life in skateboarding. So I really appreciate that opportunity. So my role now, I'm the former CEO of USA Skateboarding, and currently I'm the chair of the Paralympic Commission at World Skate, which is the international federation that governs skateboarding for the Olympics. So my new focus is how do we get adaptive skateboarding into the Paralympics? Yes. So we're lucky enough to have a couple of adaptive athletes up here with us today to talk a little bit about who they are and where they see that journey going. And I'm going to go ahead and start with Oscar Loretto. Oscar's a board member at USA Skateboarding. He's the chair of the Adaptive Skateboarding Committee at USA Skateboarding. Obviously a skateboarder himself. Welcome, Oscar. Tell me a little bit about... Yes.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about how old you were when you found skateboarding.
I think I'm similar to you. I was a late bloomer. I started 14, 15. And then kind of like how we talked about earlier, it was the early 2000s, so that negative stigma was still there. You know, you're a rebel or you're the outcast because you skateboarded. But the same, motifs that we talked about all weekend long are, I think they come across the board with any skateboarder, right? It's like it was the one thing that you gravitated towards because you felt included, you felt accepted. So yeah, it's just like I've said all weekend long is just like skateboarding helps save lives and just kind of steer and navigate my life, whether my professional career or the skateboarding career is just been a rad thing that, this thing that was invented, long before I was born is able to make such an impact and hit those milestone markers along the way, like being included in the Olympics.
Absolutely. Tracy, same question for you.
Would I love to go to the Olympics? Heck yeah. But let's go back to when I started skateboarding, or my sport is actually called WCMX. I started at age 55, and I am now 62.
Woo!
So, yeah. But, before we even talk about the Olympics for my sport, we have to talk about what we've been invited to. What big contests me as a person who uses a wheelchair have actually done. So the magic of it is we did our first big contest last year, and it was called the Do Tour. And so, that to me, that was a dream that I never knew I had. And it was pretty awesome because previously it was held in Long Beach, and my biggest thought was, will they let me drop in the place that regular skateboarders could drop in? And I have a video, and it was like, to me, that was the dream at the time, was to drop in where regular skateboarders were dropping in. So now my dream has gotten a little bit bigger. And you guys are thinking, what, 2028? Los Angeles? Well, I'll be 68. That's still pretty young.
That's
So,
super
yeah.
young.
Keep your dreams fluid.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tracy. I mean, I think you bring up an interesting point. None of us standing here at any point in our careers, when we stepped on a skateboard, thought, oh, we'll be in Sioux Falls with the Smithsonian and the Levitt talking about skateboarding to skateboarders and other people that don't necessarily understand skateboarding in this way. It's really, skateboarding is a choose your own adventure game for your life. And it doesn't matter where you start in that journey, what starts your skateboarding journey, it will take you anywhere you want to go. And that's one of the most amazing things. So, Bryce, tell me a little bit about, well, sorry, I'm gonna rewind this because Bryce was one of 7 women park athletes in Tokyo that won the Fair Play Award from after this Olympic Games. It's a giant award. Yes, congratulations, Bryce. So it's a giant award that is specifically given out to people that show the most sportsmanlike conduct and spirit of the Olympic Games during the Olympics. In Tokyo, our concern was making sure that, hey, can we get the culture of skateboarding? Can people see what happens? And then we get there, we're in the midst of the pandemic, there's no people in the stands, there's no opportunity to do activations like this around the skateboarding events to really share the culture. And so we were concerned, but what was amazing is that the culture of skateboarding shined through in what the athletes were doing on the course in the midst of competition. So Bryce and the 7 other women park skaters picked up Masugu Okamura, who had fallen. She was the odds-on favorite to win the women's park event. She was dominating these competitions. She won, I think, the three events previous to that and was the odds-on favorite to walk away with the gold medal. She fell. She didn't make the podium. She was obviously devastated. And Bryce and her friends, these skateboarders that were competing seconds before that, go pick her up, put her on their shoulders, and celebrate who she was and what she meant to skateboarding. And that, like, I heard it from everywhere. Every level of the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, every level of the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee said, this is amazing. This is what we want to see. This is the energy we need. This is why they wanted skateboarding in the games. And so congratulations to you, Bryce, for
Thank you.
for being able to translate what we all know is at the heart of skateboarding, which is fun and freedom of expression, camaraderie, all these things we enjoy. It's the reason you get up off the ground and go try again. So I wanted to ask a little bit about what's changed in your life pre-Olympics to now that you've been to an Olympic Games as a skateboarder. How has that changed how you think about skateboarding?
I think there's a certain place and line in life where you think, like, now I have to think differently about something because of something I've lived, but it's not really that I feel different about it. I think I've always loved skateboarding in the way that I started to love it at first, but I think what's changed is now everywhere that I go, that memory is kind of like glued onto me, like a turtle with a shell. And I feel like it's kind of just, I wear it everywhere because, like, it's not because I want to say we did this, but it's almost like I can't help but wear it. It's like inevitable because it makes me a little bit of like who I am and who we all, it makes us all who we are. And I feel like it just makes me super emotional always talking about it because Masugu was like one of my best, like, they were all just my best friends because we lived that moment together. And it's like when you see someone, you have to do something. You have to almost act on that feeling immediately because it's that feeling that overrides that thinking sometimes. It's like, this is how I feel momentarily. It must be the right thing to do. And there's a lot of, people like criteria or ways to see things in the Olympics. Like, it must be this way. It's been going on for so long and it looks like a big deal. We probably got to follow the rules or the spectrum of how to do it and fit it in, right? But I think at the end of the day, if you really worked hard and you got to that point, you can make that platform into how you feel it made you into who you were. Like, you can make it into how you want it to be. And I think that's really beautiful because us being able to lift Masugu up, it's just sort of like, that's how we got there. Masugu inspired us every single day because she always put her heart so much into everything. She put everything into everything she did. And sometimes when you see that in a person, you have to give that back instantly, especially on the biggest stage, because that's kind of what we wanted. We wanted to tell Masugu, like, you changed our lives with your dedication and devotion. We want to do the same things to you. We want to thank you for how you did that to us. And being able to do that for her was so beautiful. And I think about that moment all the time because that was kind of like the pinnacle of another pinnacle. And I think it's something life-changing. We don't realize we're not even just doing it for everyone else. Like, we don't realize that everyone saw it. That's beautiful. But we're also doing it just because we all need it for each other at the end of the day. And it was so beautiful.
It was truly a beautiful moment. If you Google Bryce's name and Fair Play, you can watch the video of that happening and read the story. And I suggest you do it because it shows the heart of skateboarding. And it was an incredible moment that had impact not only on skateboarding and skateboarders, but on the Olympic movement as a whole. There was a lot of concern as we went into the Olympic Games amongst skateboarders, like, oh, the Olympics are going to change skateboarding, this is not a good thing, like, it causes these issues. But what we saw is that skateboarding actually changed the Olympic Games and the way they think about competitive sport. And that's going to continue with these skaters, and as we get to the Paralympics, it will just only continue to grow and change and bring in some of these real cultural values that are important into something that's traditionally been very heavily focused on sports. So, Jake, same question for you. Earlier this year was the first annual Jake and Nate Elardi Day in his hometown in Florida. So, obviously, pre-Olympics, having a Jake Day in your hometown wasn't something that probably ever crossed your mind. Tell me a little bit about what led up to that day, and kind of the same question for Bryce. Like, how has your career, how's the way you think about skateboarding changed since the Olympics?
So yeah, May 16th is Jake and Nate Elardi Day. I thought that would never happen. I don't know if you guys know who Jamie Foy is. He's, what year did he get Skater of the Year?
That's a good question. Jamie Foy's Skater of the Year, another Florida skater.
Yeah, well, he got Skater of the Year one year, and his hometown gave him his own holiday. And I thought, wow, that'd be cool one day, maybe have your own holiday, just joking around with my brother and stuff. And May 16th, the city ended up dedicating a day to us because of our hard work and commitment to our community. Actually, leading up to this, my local park, Payne Skate Park, it's about 20 years old. It's fallen apart. It's seen better days, but I needed some more runway for the bigger section, for the big rail at the park. And I was talking to the city about adding a new, some more runway for the park. So I was asking them, hey, is there any budget? They said no, COVID cut all of our budget. So I set up a GoFundMe, and I raised $17,000 for a new ramp at our park in about a week and a half. So what we did from there, we built the ramp, skated it. Now the kids have a new addition to the park. Now what we've been doing is we're pushing for new skate parks in the area, because when I grew up, our grandma had to drive us about 25, 30 minutes to go skate every day if we wanted to skate at the park. If not, we just skate in the driveway. But not a lot of kids have their grandma to go drive them 25, 30 minutes to go skate if they live far away. So what my goal is now is to bring more skate facilities to Sarasota and all around Florida. I want skateboarding to be more accessible to the local kids all over the community. And just like they're doing here with Let's Skate in Sioux Falls, they're getting you guys a new skate park. I'm on that same mission down in Florida. So we're trying to get the current skate park redone, and then we're trying to get a network of 10 other skate parks spread out through the community. And yeah, that's the Olympics has really helped me gain some momentum with the city and gain some pull with them, and they're super supportive and on board with everything now. So it's the Olympics has actually been very good for the skate community in my hometown.
I love to see what these skaters are doing with the experience they've taken, and obviously when you say I'm an Olympian, it changes the conversation for a lot of people who might not understand what skateboarding is, and for them to be able to utilize that to further skateboarding and the things they care about is just one of the really special parts of being an Olympian. And so congratulations on the work that you're both doing as you take that title forward. Oscar, I want to ask you, obviously skateboarding in the Olympics then opens this question about, hey, can we get adaptive skateboarding in the Paralympics? What do we got to do? So from your viewpoint, what are kind of the necessary steps to go from where we are today to hopefully the Paralympics in Los Angeles in 2028? The next event after that is in Melbourne in 2032, but there is a pathway now because of skateboarding in the Olympic Games to get adaptive skateboarding in WCMX in the Paralympics.
I think we still have a long journey to go, but like Jake mentioned, like COVID hindered a lot of things and it was a deterrent. Because originally we were supposed to have an adaptive demo in Japan, and that was the hopes of like showcasing to the world, like, hey, we need to have this sport into the Paralympics. Right now, I think that the biggest hurdles we have is just recruitment, right? Finding the participation numbers, finding, all the adaptive skaters across the country, and then formulate and create, meet those criteria for the Olympics, and then share that with the other countries. I know Brazil right now has a strong adaptive scene. They do their own contests, and it's just emulating every step that, USA skateboarding took to get skateboarding in the Olympics, and just emulating that same game plan. I'm hopeful that in Paris and, with COVID, restrictions going away and stuff like that, that we'll have an adaptive demo in Paris, that we start getting that industry of sport that I talked about the other night of just, putting people on and sponsoring them. And we have, you see it now. Dan Mancini's got it on Reel, Justin Bishop, Felipe Nunez is on Birdhouse. So that we're making strides. It's just, it could be done in a lot kind of quicker fashion. And I think the faster we do that and faster we get every, company and organization on the same page, the movement will be expedited, and we'll see, an adaptive world championship, hopefully, 1 year, very soon. And then it's just really just sharing the stoke. And, a lot of the stuff that I do in the work with nonprofit orgs is that before a major adaptive competition, we have a learn to skate clinic. Whether you're disabled or not, like if you've ever just thought about skateboarding, like you can learn from myself or Tracy and, other peers and instructors that, just like I said earlier, like that representation matters. So that goes a long way for, because like I said, like I saw John Comer. I honestly thought when I first picked up a board that I was the first dude with one leg to step on a skateboard, thinking like, yeah, I'm gonna call Guinness. This is gonna be sick. Like I'm gonna be in the history books. But it's like, oh no, look, John Comer fucking doing kickflip with his leg off in a CCS ad. Yeah, he's already pro. He's riding for Airwalk. Like so, I'm like, I got humbled real quick. But like, if some kid sees me and had that same notion, but like discovers everything that we've been doing with the adaptive side, like for me, that's like, that's what I'm here for. Like that, I could die happy after that. Cause like, even like I didn't, like you said, like I didn't pick up a board to be like, yeah, I'm gonna be a Paralympian. Like, nah, I'm just a skateboarder. And just having this cool opportunity to become a Paralympic skateboarder is pretty rad.
That's amazing. So Tracy, same question for you from the WCMX perspective. And actually, before we do that, so the way that we've looked at adaptive skateboarding and WCMX for the Paralympics is that any new sports going into the games have to have gender equity. So there has to be an equal number of men and women participating in those sports. There are more women competing in WCMX right now, so that's one way to get more girls and women involved to help meet that gender equity that we have to provide. But from your perspective, what are the most important things that people can do or we can think about to help advance WCMX towards the Paralympics?
Well, I'm doing my best to promote the sport, and I always offer free training. But for me, it seems like there's a huge financial barrier. I only know of one person personally that has a sponsor. Travel's expensive. To go to Florida for a 1 or 2 day contest is expensive. And, I'd love to be able to do that all the time, but it's just not possible. In fact, I don't even know what it would be like to be sponsored. You know, I've gotten a discount on a few items, you know, maybe 10% off on a set of wheels, but, and I'm happy with that. The other thing is training. I'm pretty much self-taught. You know, people would tell me, hey, you know, I would say, how do you do that? And they'd say, well, you go just like this. And honestly, I don't learn like that. So, you know, I've kind of devised a method myself on how I'm teaching people. So we need people out there teaching. Like, this has been a perfect opportunity, and thank you very much. You know, I got to help a couple people today, and you know, a lot of times they try it and they're a little frightened. Like, you know, the folks I taught today, it'll probably help them get around the world a little bit better. So it's you know, I hate to say it, but the adaptive world has been kind of separated. I don't see myself separate. So for me, I think that that's kind of a big stumbling block. I don't, you know, it's huge in my head.
So
I'm
more
not-
opportunities to be together with adaptive skateboarders.
My world is we're the same, so I would compete gladly, but that's just my head.
I think so. One of the things that we did while I was at USA Skateboarding was partner with grassroots events in Florida and all around the nation called Grind for Life. And Ryan Clements, who's been announcing all weekend, runs those events through the border with a nonprofit called Grind for Life, done by Mike Rogers. But it's a really cool contest series, and what we were able to do was to add adaptive divisions to all of their competitions. And that small change alone, where you have what you would expect at a standard skate contest, you just add a couple more divisions. So there's an opportunity for adaptive athletes and WCMX athletes to compete. Those are the little changes that need to continue to happen to provide opportunity. This is the equity piece that I think Arthur was talking about. That's something we can actually solve. So as you're going about your life and the things you do, when you're thinking about equity for adaptive skaters, think about, why is there a reason that there isn't a specific inclusion of adaptive skateboarders in any skateboarding event? There should be in every skateboarding event. Tracy said how important the Do Tour was to those WCMX and adaptive athletes. Having that opportunity to compete, sharing that stage, being together, nothing advances skill level faster than that. The inspiration that you spoke to, Bryce, like being inspired by another skater is what pushes you to get better. And you can take pieces that you see, you can apply those to the way you skate, and you can invent new things on your own. It's a really fun process. So we're just going to continue to push to do that, and I encourage you all to do the same, especially with the park that you're going to have here. You know, it's amazing to see what the Belladonnas do here. You know, I don't know if I've ever been anywhere where there's a crew of like 30 or 40 young girls who are that into skateboarding and that supportive of each other. So to see that in a place like Sioux Falls just reminds me, like, these opportunities are everywhere. Take advantage of them when you see them and help support these amazing athletes. I need to check how far we are into this. I haven't even
They
looked
remind me of the girls from The Sound of Music. I don't know why.
at the Von Trapp family.
Yeah, like yesterday we were going down to these waterfalls, and we were all just in a line, like singing and skateboarding, and like it was somehow, like we all devised it in the way where it was like tallest to shortest, and I was like, whoa. I was like, that was so beautiful.
I really hope someone has a picture of that.
Tracy always has a picture of everything.
I think we might have it. But can I just say something about Bryce's Olympic moment? Because
Please do.
all right, so I have a girls group. It's actually not mine, but I'm there every single time, and I was bawling my eyes out watching, because if you have to know the person, but it was just kind of like it was Bryce. So I actually used it as a teachable moment. And so it actually goes further, and this is like before, and it was a teachable moment to tell my girls that this is what we aspire to in skateboarding.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Tracy.
I mean, you just see it here. I see these little girls roll up to Bryce and just be like, they're stunned. And it's representation, to Oscar's point, to everyone's point. When you see yourself in someone doing something that you think is amazing, it means I can do that. So that's really fun to watch happen.
Also, you should tell them, because we're all like just stunned by all of you, I feel like sometimes, you know. Just be starstruck by everybody, but know that they're just like you, right, I guess.
Absolutely. The trip to Pine Ridge is the perfect example of that, actually. Like, I was honored to be in their presence at their skate park and watch those kids do what they do there. Watch Kyle and all the time and energy and effort he's put into building a place for skateboarding on the res that's making a difference in these kids' lives. He told me something last night. He didn't share it today. I hope it's okay that I share this. The suicide rate in Pine Ridge amongst kids is insane. It's heartbreaking. And he said that since he's had his skateboard program, none of the kids involved in skateboarding in Pine Ridge, they haven't lost any of them to suicide. And that just speaks to the power of skateboarding and speaks to the power of what Kyle's doing out there, speaks to the opportunities that we all have to further support the future of this planet, this world. These kids are the future of everything. And the more that we can support them now, the better off we're all going to be. So the last thing I wanted to say, because this is an Olympic experience panel, was, Jake, what was the most surprising part of your Tokyo experience? Just whatever piece that you're like, whoa, this was not what I was expecting. Sorry, I put you on the spot. You're up next, Bryce.
It's a tough one. There was a lot of surprises. Honestly, for me, I was really surprised at how big the skate park was. Like, I was blown away. I'd never skated a competition course or skate park that big before. Like, the rails were massive. It was like this huge 12-stair rail that was bigger than normal, and then all these super long rails, and then also just being in the village with all these world-class athletes. We're all under multiple roofs, but we're all in one zone. Like, people from Afghanistan, people from Russia, people from Denmark, people from every corner of the world were all under one little zone to come together and compete, like, as the world's best. And that was just really surprising to be there and see everyone in person.
It was special to watch the skateboarders moving through the village and how the other athletes reacted. You know, I grew up in, like I said,
Do a
Kansas.
kickflip.
Lots of kickflips, but also lots of fanning out on the skateboarders, right? Like, these athletes knew who the skateboarders were, and they would come up and ask for an autograph, want to hang out, want to trade pins. Like, it was incredible to see that and to watch them get to experience that and enjoy that part of being an elite world-class athlete in that environment. It was really cool to watch. Bryce, same question for you. What was the most surprising part of Tokyo for you?
Well, I think, I mean, if I was going to say the most surprising part, it was being there in Tokyo and not there just in your mind. That's probably one of the biggest things. But before I say the next thing, I'll say that was like, think about imagining some place in your mind for like 2 years, and it's just this like preconceived notion of what it is. And it's just like, you've created this little snow globe of like, this is what it will be like. I've seen it so many times. And then you're there and you feel like it's just another snow globe that you've been imagining. Like, it's not real. But the thing is, it is real. And I think being there, it was just kind of like, take it in, but don't take too much of it in all at once. Take it in as it comes to you, because it's something like that. It's such a treasure that if you look at it all at once, you'll kind of go off the reins of the map, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is way too much at once. Because there was a lot of people they always told me before I went, they're like, you're going to cry while you're there. Don't worry. Like the butterfly. I mean, that's basically how it is. I mean, I'm serious. Like, and not to mention the dining hall. You go there. I've always had this thing. Just anyone from all over the world. Like, you meet someone in France, people from Egypt. Like Jake said, like everyone was there. Anytime I meet someone who's just not from where I'm from, it's sort of like oh my gosh, it's like going off the deep end, like, wow, can I have your autograph? Like, sorry, especially people who just have an accent. I don't know, I've always loved accents and all of that.
Well, it was a good place to listen to a lot of different accents, for sure.
Yeah, because you go into the dining hall and every single person has the name of the country on their back. And yeah, you would have lanyards on your neck, so you would be able to trade pens with all of them, and people from Fiji, and you'd learn the indigenous languages, and there's just so much more than one thing and everything. So it was so beautiful. So.
It's awesome. Well, congratulations to Bryce and to Jake, our Olympians here today. Thank you to Tracy and Oscar for representing the adaptive side of skateboarding. And we very much appreciate you all sitting out in the heat to listen to us share this experience with you today. And if you take one thing away from this, if you take one thing away from Innoskate, realize that skateboarding will take you anywhere you want to go in your life. And there is a huge opportunity for you to utilize this tool, whether it's at a competitive level in the Olympics, whether it's creating videos, whether it's making art. All these things are available through skateboarding, and please explore that, enjoy it, and have fun. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're gonna sing a song. Oh, I thought we were gonna sing. What song do you guys want to sing? Three Little Birds by Bob Marley? Oh, Friedberg. Oh, you gotta sing with me. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, smile at the rising sun. Three little birds sitting on my doorstep, singing sweet songs, a melody pouring through. Singing, this is my message to you. Yes, Oscar. Yay.
Yeah, Bryce.
We're going to get a picture together.